Well, I enjoyed that. That is different from Trash Boat.
It is, isn't it?
Isn't it?
Very different.
It really is. They've gone down a really different route.
Yeah, and that's something I want to talk about. Actually, I want to talk about how different it is to the last two albums. Like if you look at Crown Shyness, which was the one that was released in 2018, and then you've got Nothing I Write You Can Change What You've Been Through. And it's that came out in 2016. That was a really, really good album as well. But they went from that post-hardcore element, very much a screamy, singy, really almost like the Architects kind of raw vocals. And especially as they are British as well, that's why I've got a little bit of a edge about that.
St.
I really
Albans.
like because of that.
Local to me.
Yeah, St. Albans. Yeah, exactly. Local to
Amazing.
you. But it's different to their old stuff. And I remember I was reading actually an article about Toby Duncan, the frontman, and he was talking about how he wanted to move away from that sort of aspect and try and mature as a band and try to look at, instead of writing emotional lyrics about his insecurities and everything about him actually being difficult, getting high in a room and just really writing all these lyrics out. He said a lot of the songs that are coming out on this new album of theirs actually were written pretty much in a day. In the studio, because
really?
he said he had a feeling and he knew what he wanted and he bashed them out, and that was something that they really were trying to say in the article. But what do you think then, Jacopo? What do you think about this song?
So I actually didn't know Trash Boat, so pleasantly surprised. I'm also interested to listen to their catalog, like you were saying. Crown Shyness, is it?
Yeah,
I don't know it, but of course, even though you were saying it's different and maybe this is a slightly more mature sound, I'm also interested in finding out what their older stuff is. I think they're a very interesting band, so I enjoyed this song.
It's a lot of energy, isn't there? There's a lot of energy in it, and I like that. And I want to talk about also going back to Toby Duncan, who's the frontman. He's always been bisexual. That's what he's always come out as, being bisexual. He's never come out. He's just been bisexual, always growing up. And he was talking about how a lot of his some of his family members are bisexual too, or are gay. And basically, he in this song is speaking about an incident that he met someone on tour who was from a really rural area in the United States, and this song was inspired by that story about the person he met. And he said that person couldn't come out, couldn't be himself, couldn't be who he wanted to be. And he said he almost took it for granted, in the sense of that he grew up in a household that was so comfortable
where it was accepted.
Exactly. And this person's from a really, really religious town in the middle of nowhere in America, and couldn't be himself, couldn't be who what he wanted. He couldn't show his true feelings, his show emotions. And that's why he talks about in this song, it's father so austere, the boys are fucking queer. That line is, I think, it speaks volumes.
Yeah, it certainly does. I mean, it's when I heard that is something you cling on to. You listen to that and you think, why is he saying that? Like, what kind of has led him to put that into a song? And then knowing the reason why, it's incredible. I mean, I've always liked Trash Boat. I remember them coming up on the kind of, because I'm from Milton Keynes and St Albans is not a million miles away. You sort of, the kind of bands that I was listening to or going to gigs for when they were coming up was your Enter Shikaris, your Hadoukens, your Trash Boats, all these sort of people. So it's always great to sort of have these kind of close to home bands and see them doing well. And Trash Boat's been one of those. I'd be really interested, Jacopo, to sort of hear what you think of their back catalogue, because it is different to that. And Mike, you sort of, I forget what you said about the genre for them, post-hardcore, whatever you said, but post-hardcore. They've always fit for me in the kind of emo category, and I think that's interesting that we've got a different view on the genre. But I suppose it's who they've toured with, which is making me put that into their category, because they've toured with Citizen. Trash Boat have toured with Citizen, who I played last week, and there's a completely different sound to what you just heard, but they've toured, and it's like, whether it's, I think they've also done stuff with your Narwhals and things like that, which again is a Brighton sort of punk band. are no longer around. And it's just really, really interesting. But one thing that I think me and Mike can both agree on with Trash Boat is how sick is their merch.
Oh,
their merch
wow,
is unreal. Like it's like label level good, isn't it?
Great.
Like it's
great.
So good.
What they've done, and I know Ben can probably go in more depth about this, but what they've done a lot of they've got like very specific clothing lines about with Trash Boat or whatever it is on it, and lots of really, really detailed clothing on there, you know, like symbols and embedded actually into the clothing. And they've only got a specific amount. And then when they're gone in that sense. So I don't know how they do it. They either buy testers or I don't know what they do, but they only buy maybe a couple hundred or whatever it is. But people actually buy their clothing because of that, in that sense. They want to go back and have that almost exclusivity, you know?
Yeah. I think
I just looked it up and sorry.
No, I was just going to follow on from Mike to say that there's a lot to say for limited runs. You know, if you're a band, you know, first of all, they utilize embroidery in their merch, which it just adds an extra element. If you've got an embroidered, you know, it's not just a screen printed massive logo of the album with the tour dates on the back. Like it's different to that, right? So embroidery adds something really amazing to it. But the fact that, as you were saying, Mike, about limited runs, if you're a Trash Boat fan, if you're a Serge Tankian fan, if you're a Citizen fan, if you're a August Burns Red fan, take you two guys, right? August Burn Red fans, right? You buy this merch from them and you know you are 1 in 50 people in the world who own that t-shirt, and that is it. You're just 1 in 50 out of millions of people who like this band. You are 1 in 50 and you've got that t-shirt. How much more does that add to that t-shirt? It's not just a t-shirt you bought at a festival. You are 1 in 50 who own that. And that is incredible marketing. It just is. I think it's fantastic. That's what I'll have to say about it.
And you know what? I mean, it's great that you said that, and actually you gave that depth, which you have the experience as well. You know, with the Stroll group that you run on the side, is you know, you have experience in that field, and you can see that. You can see when you say, "Oh, that band's doing so well on their merch. They know what they're doing."
It's
great to have someone like you can see that, because realistically, you know, Jacopo and I, if we turn up to a gig, we go, "Oh, that's a cool shirt." Or that's not really a good shirt, you know. But the thing is, you have that depth, which is amazing. But going back to the actual music side, this doesn't have that sort of rawness that the other songs have. It's a bit more, I would say, polished compared to the other songs, but it still has that energy. It has a lot of energy. And it's that's what I really like about Trash Boat, and that's one thing that really got me into Trash Boat in the first place, is their energy. And you listen to this track, you're like blasted away, and you're like, whoa! And it's everything that they're doing is it's all come from emotion, and that's what I've always liked about them. And I feel like they're really underrated, and that's one thing that really bothers me about Trash Boat, is the fact that I feel like they should be bigger than they are, which is really annoying. They're a bit like, they're a bit late for their time. I think if they came out like 10 years ago, or not even 10 years ago, you know, let's say 5-6 years ago, they'd be huge. That's the way I look at it. But they've come out and it
came out at the wrong time.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
but
I'd agree
that's
with
probably
that.
why they're probably changing their sound. They're trying to find that their own sound rather than copying a post-hardcore sound, in that sense.
Damn. All right, ratings, guys.
I'll start off. I chose this track because I liked it, and I think it's up. I would say it's probably this is a big shout. I'm just going to warn you. This is my favorite track of the year so far. It's my favorite track of the year so far. So I'm going to give that an 8.5.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Big moves from Mr. Ashmore. Making moves.
So you changed your standards at the beginning of this episode just to give this an 8.5.
No. I would have always given it an 8.5. Well, maybe
9.999.
You had to change your standards so you can justify the 8.5.
No. Last episode, I probably would have given it an 8. So I've gone up on 0.5 on my ratings. Inflation.
It's going at a rate inflation, isn't it?
So next week it'll be a 9. We'll do an updated rating.
Yeah, you know,
in
in
6 months it's going to be a million out of 10.
Yeah. In a year's time, be like 25. I've given that one out of 10. There you go, done.
Jacopo, would you like to go next, big man?
Yeah, so I'll give this, like I said, it's a new song for me. I've listened to it once, so I can only, also for the other ones, of course, many of them, it was my first time listening to them. But not knowing the band at all, I'd love to listen to more of their catalog, but I think 7.5, maybe even a 7, something around there. Let's settle on a 7.3, 7.25 to be precise.
That's fair.
It's a band that I'll need to discover.
Fair enough.
Say that.
Cool. That's fair enough. From my end, this is the way I've sort of worked mine out. Mine's a 7.5. The reason I've put it that is based on my knowledge of Trash Boat, it's an 8. Based on my knowledge of Trash Boat, it's a 7. It's different. It is completely different. But based on my knowledge of them as a new project, for example, say that was a band I'd never heard of before, they'd probably get an 8. So based on what I know about the band in the past, it's a 7. But based on that as a sound, forgetting who wrote it, it's an 8. So it's 7.5.
That's fair enough. Yeah,
that was quite a long-winded way of putting it, but yeah, that's where I'm sort of coming from.
No, that makes sense. I think overall, you've actually what's pretty impressive actually. This song we've rated higher than the Architect song, which is really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
That is interesting.
It's your 8.5 that just skews everything.
Yeah, maybe without my 8.5, maybe that's what it is.
Yeah, Mike's there like, I'll give this one 10 out of 10. Oh, we've rated this one higher than the other one.
Hey, look, I'm just trying to be fair. I am trying to be fair. Genuinely, this is one of my favorite tracks of 2021, and I think I'm actually so excited to see more of their stuff that when it comes out. I don't know when it will. I don't know when their next stuff is coming out. They haven't been very open with it. But I'm excited to see what comes next. Really.
All right, guys. So moving on to the next song by another historical metalcore band, Every Time I Die. It's called AWOL. This is probably going to be a nice punch in the face for Ben, since I don't think this is really his style. But Every Time I Die is a band that's been around for a very long time. I think they've been another of those very consistent, strong bands. So, yeah, let's give it a listen, and we'll comment on it in a few minutes.